Órale, solo choco los tres chingones boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas, man. So, all right, Edgar Berlanga, right, the chosen one. He was in action over the weekend. This is his first fight, his first comeback fight after suffering the loss to Canelo Alvarez. And he went in there and did exactly what he had to do, man, against a guy I've never heard of. This guy, Gonzalez Ortiz, never heard of him. Don't know much about him except for what I was hearing there during the broadcast. And apparently, this Vato did 10 years. He was busted. He was locked up for 10 years, got out and got back into boxing. I don't know what kind of career he had in boxing before he got busted, but when he got out, he got back into boxing about a year ago. So, um, he doesn't go far with Berlanga. Berlanga finishes him in the first round and yeah, makes a statement against a guy that he's supposed to make a statement against, right? Um, Now Berlanga's really feeling himself, right? And I'm not saying he shouldn't. Look, it was a showcase fight, and that's what he did. All right. There's plenty of fighters that are supposed to have showcase fights and they go the distance. Berlanga was not supposed to go the distance with this guy. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do in style. So I thought it was probably gonna go a few more rounds, but no, he finishes him off in the first round. Okay. You know, Berlanga, one thing that is crazy is that he didn't even make the weight for this fight. From what I understand, he was somewhere around 2 pounds overweight. I'm not even really sure. I'll be real, I did not even watch the weigh-ins. I just heard that through the broadcast, and I'm like, okay, well, if he was overweight, he was overweight. But you could tell he was bigger than this dude, man. His size, the size difference, and just the crack in Berlanga's punches, man. Finally got to him, dropped him, I think like 2 times before the referee had to stop it for the third one. Um, Now Berlanga's calling now the likes of Munguia, who actually has a fight coming up. He's calling out Jamal Charlo, who hasn't fought in a long time. He's calling out Canelo, of course, and he's calling out Caleb Plant. Now, you know, all those fights, man. First of all, the Canelo fight, forget that, homie. I do not want to see that again. He lost every single round. I get it. He's very proud of himself because he went the distance. All right. But he lost every single round. So there's for me personally, damn that, dog. Um, Munguia would be a good fight. However, Munguia does have a fight coming up. So unless Berlanga is planning on sitting on his hands till later, like later this year, till like the fall, probably even winter, I don't think Munguia is gonna be up for a fight, man. Because Munguia has a fight coming up in May. So yeah, that means he's gonna be on the shelf for till gosh, maybe till September. So I mean Berlanga, since he fought this early in the year, he could squeeze in 2 more fights this year. But would that be a good fight? Yeah, that'd be a pretty good fight. Let's see what Munguia does against Brunello Suras, right? Which I believe Munguia is gonna, you know, mop the floor with this Vato, man. But let me see, Jamal Charlo. I mean, I wouldn't mind it if that's just like we're just gonna make that fight for like a stay busy fight. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Now, the one that I really want to see is Caleb Plant, right? There's bad blood between these two guys, but supposedly Caleb Plant is already slated to fight in May. So I don't know against whom. But from what I understand, Caleb Plant already has an agreement to fight in May. Now, this is boxing, right? This is boxing, so anything can change. But from my understanding is that Caleb Plant is already slated to fight in May. So if he does fight in May and it's not against Berlanga, then you know, again, what does Berlanga do? Does he just sit on his hands all the way till what, the September, October, November? No, I would say, look, if it is true, if it is true that Caleb Plant, we already know Munguia, he really is fighting in May against Brunello Suras, right? Okay, Caleb Plant, again, is just somewhat of a rumor, but from what I understand, he is fighting in May. Let's say that's true. If that is true, then I wouldn't mind seeing Berlanga versus Charlo. Go in there against Charlo if that means he is going to fight either Mungia or Caleb Plant at the end of the year. But if Plant and Mungia are both busy in May, you could get Berlanga back in there, man, in June or July. And then he could fight either one of those guys later on in the year. You could make it for October, November. But yeah, man, I would like him to fight either one of those two guys. I think that would be the way to go. Either Mungia or Caleb Plant. Probably more. Here's the thing. I think a better fight, a more fan-friendly fight would be against Mungia. I do. I think those two guys would trade a little bit more. It'll be a much more entertaining fight. So I think that would be the more entertaining fight. However, there's bad blood between him and Caleb Plant. So that's probably the fight that maybe people are gonna, be a little bit more interested in because the bad blood that these guys have been going back and forth already. But in reality, the more banger of a fight, the more you're going to get bang for your buck is against Mungia. That would be a much better fight, man, in the ring. A lot more chingazos being thrown. With Caleb Plant, don't get me wrong, it'll be a cool fight, but it won't be as good as the Mungia fight. Caleb Plant is much more of a boxer. The only thing is that there's already bad blood, and you could sell that fight through there because the bad blood that these two guys have. But I don't think it will be the better fight to watch. It would be the Mungia fight. But however, like I said, if Caleb Plant is fighting in May, and Mungia, we already know he's fighting in May, I don't mind Berlanga fighting Jamal Charlo or anybody else. Or anybody else. What I don't want is I don't want Berlanga to sit on his hands. That's what I don't want. I don't want him sitting on his hands. Should he fight a Christian Billy? Should he fight a Diego Pacheco? Should he fight one of those guys? I mean, sure, why not? But in reality, I think the plan for Berlanga's team is really to get him in there against a Mungia or a Caleb Plant. So I don't think they're going to risk one of those guys that can probably have a good chance to beat them. I think they're going to go with a tomato can. And if you're going to go with a tomato can, you go with a name, right? You go with a notable name. And who's a notable name? Who's pretty much a tomato can right now? Jamal Charlo. That fight sells. You get a little bigger payday as opposed to fighting some guy like this that he fought, Gonzalez Ortiz. You fight a Jamal Charlo, you build it up. Oh, the return of Jamal Charlo and everything. You make a little bit more feria. You beat him. He's been out of the ring for heck, I don't know how long now. And then you go at the end of the year and you fight either Mungia or Caleb Plant. So, but what's your guys' thoughts, man? Edgar Berlanga finally back in the ring after his loss to Canelo Alvarez. I'm hoping he fights 3 times this year. I'm hoping he fights 3 times. Because the kid, there's some good fights, man. There's some really good fights at 168 without Canelo. There's a lot of good fights to be made at 168 without Canelo. And Berlanga's in that mix. You guys let me know, man. Cholo Truck, Los Tres Chingones Boxing. Shout out to the Chingones y Chingonas. Catch you guys on next round.